We have a brand new patch for Hearts of Iron 4. It's a brand new game. And it's a big one because it's adding 2 new buildings. So we're kind of getting features in a free patch, which is kind of nice. The main thing to address is the issues people have brought with coal. So the multiplayer issue of the micro thing is for the fix for the most part. I've not heard much from the community or MP since then. Maybe I'll dip into Dankers' DMs and find out what's going on with that. Maybe they're happy with the changes, maybe they're not. I'll find out from the front line. But this patch is specializing in updates to coal to reform it to make it, well, I guess, fit with the game structure. So just to recap, coal was added as an energy cap almost to prevent a maximum number of factories to happen in the game. Because what tends to happen is, if you can imagine it as a graph, it's like perpetual growth. If you just keep making civilian factories, you can perpetually add GDP forever and ever and ever. And the more GDP you've got, the more you get. And it is a little bit silly if you do think about, like, there's kind of a no cap to the level of growth you can get to. The actual cap is building slots, I suppose. Anyway, so then choose coal to be like a ceiling, a limit at the very top. I remember I suggested this a few years back, and a guy made a mod that increased consumer goods perpetually as you went up. And it kind of worked, but it reached a weird point where if the consumer goods got too high, it would like still artificially cap you in a very wonky kind of weird way. Like 100% consumer goods is kind of strange. Anyway, what we're going to do before we reach the patch notes is I just want to pop into the game, do a few scenarios, and just kind of see how coal behaves currently in its current form. So right now, Poland is a good example because Poland has no coal. No, it has 36. I'm wrong. Where is the coal? Well, there's 3 there. Am I missing something? Let me hover over it. There's coal. You have Katowice. Oh, here. Okay. What I'm going to do is something really bizarre. I'm going to give this state to Germany and then check my current coal. We only have 1 coal now. And now we're going to build factories. And then we're also going to build guns. And then we're going to just look how the resources spread out. So right now, we still have 1 coal. And if you do hover over here, you can see more of an energy breakdown. Let's zoom in on that. Energy breakdown. There we go. And you can see here the base value of coal is 10. And plus you're generating an additional 1. So what it's basically saying is every country has a base value of energy. And that 1 coal pushes it to a max generation of 28. Okay. All right. Let's build a few factories then. Build a few. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mills, sieves. And then start the game. Add them all on. Okay, now we need 6 coal. So let's just look at these numbers again. Zoom in. So you can see this bar is green here, indicating we have a deficiency of energy. Energy demand is 80, and we're only fulfilling 34%. Hence the 34% of this bar compared to the top one. Okay, so energy demand 80, energy generated 28. The base amount is 10. Okay, so we're generating 4 energy per coal, it looks like. Okay, and that would result in... build some infrastructure. Oh, no, we've got the IC turned on. Infrastructure. Continue the game. You see -6 here, deficit of coal. If you hover over here, you can see no factories assigned. Don't seem to have any actual factories here. Let me just whack on the mobilization. Now we need more coal, and we still don't have any more. Consumer goods are all in. Factors multiply by 99%. So are we consuming more consumer goods because we have lack of energy? I have to change the way that system works. And if you hover over this, you can see now lack of power is 0.23. And this one here is 0.33. So it's a flat amount. So it's not prioritized by the top to the bottom the way it works with, like, so lack of steel, for instance. Yeah, that's only a very small penalty, 0.23%. So it's less than 1%. So it's practically nothing. But it looks like now it's consuming... our consumer goods. So let's build a few more civilian factories to try and balance things out. Here we go. And then we'll go back to building some infra. Oh, we have so many now. Okay. All right, so let's have a look. So we still have a big penalty, a very big penalty, a deficient of 74 coal. And you can see here the lack of power is hindering us with a penalty of construction of 46%. You know, I will hear you guys when you say you're not happy with this. I think seeing this red here is just like, I guess there's a little bit in our brains, our little completionists that say when you see red on the screen, you feel the need to go towards it and fix it. Do you feel the same way? I feel that way. So anyway, regardless of whether the priorities are higher or lower, it's still the 46% penalty. And let's just check on the guns as well. So the planes are suffering from a lack of power of minus 116%. Interesting. So it's gone over 100%. Maybe there's a cap on the top end of that. So if we were to import coal, we were producing 73 guns per day. And then we import all the coal from the United States. And they're producing 87 per day. Let's import it from a country that we don't need convoys. So let's go Soviet Union. And now we're producing 193 a day, and there is no penalty to the amount we need. It's a bit funky that it goes over 100% though. I'll admit that just like a little bit confusing. Let's pick a nation that's small, that doesn't have any coal. So Switzerland. So we do start with 1 coal. We hover over it. It's in the Jura Mountains. Oh, there is one. No, there is one. I was wrong. There is one. But it doesn't matter because you have a base amount of 10 energy. Ethiopia. Now, I definitely know they've not got any coal. Yep, 0 coal. They are building. They're constructing things with their 2 mills. However, they're not suffering from a penalty. No, no penalties. If we go the energy, we can see here, the demand for energy is 1.2, and the energy generated is 10. So there is a 10 amount, a base amount of energy. Just hop back to Switzerland for one moment. Because if they've got 1 coal, in this instance, 1 coal is generating 9 energy. But that was less with Poland. So it looks like it scales on the lower end. And then the more coal you get on top, the less impact it makes overall. Which, if you think about it, if the intent is to create a ceiling, this actually kind of makes sense. It's all about adding an energy cap at the very top to prevent this inevitable snowballing that lasts forever and ever. Well, anyway, there are 2 new buildings now. New buildings, a brand new game. Okay, let's go back to Poland again. And these are the 2 new buildings. So we're a reinforced electrical grid. This is very expensive, 12,000 construction costs. And what this does is it reduces the energy cost requirement per infrastructure by 7.5. And you can have a maximum of 5 infrastructure per region. So do the math. And with that in mind, in fact, let's do the math. So 7.5 times 5. So you can potentially reduce energy consumption per state by 37.5 per region. They've kind of shown this as like an electrical grid and not a power generation structure. So the idea is you're kind of making the state have a more interconnected electrical grid. And because of that, it's reducing the overall energy demand. More efficient system, you could imagine it in your head. Alternatively, if energy isn't your problem, you could go for the high capacity electrical grid. And what that does is increases resources of 10% per infrastructure. There is, however, to this, they've nerfed the amount of resources you get from infrastructure now. So as example, Baku, we had infrastructure, it adds 32 on. But if we were to build a high capacity electrical grid here, we'll add an 11 on. Or hypothetically, plus 32. And then on top of that, an additional 11. But be aware, this once again scales based on infrastructure, per infrastructure. So a maximum of 50% extra resources. This is 1 building you build, but if you pair it with infrastructure, you're gaining additional resources per region. The outcome of this is that there are more resources in the world. However, as a balancing act, it means infrastructure does generate less resources on the base end. But, just to recap, if you were to go for both, the new building as well as infrastructure, you will have more resources than which you did prior to this patch. Does that make sense? So you kind of, this is good. So there's 2 things why this is good, okay? Just to be impartial here. Late game, if you've got a lot of civilian factories and you can't build any more factories because it generates more energy, you have to say to yourself, well, I've got extra construction points that I can't invest into. Well, now you've got these 2 buildings and they'll allow you to balance your economy and you can be strategic about it. Do I want to reduce energy consumption or do I want to increase resource gain? And for instance, if I'm a nation like, I don't know, the Soviets, I don't know where Stalino is, but what I could do is then build the high capacity grid in Stalino and generate more coal infrastructure as well. But then to take it a step further as well, there is the classic technologies that you're already familiar with, which is 10% for resource gain, but it also, if you hover over that, an extra 5% for coal efficiency. And what this means is now you're basically generating more energy for 1 piece of coal. So it's not as black and white as 1 coal equals 4 energy. It all depends on how much coal you have got and how much energy you are generating. It looks like there's like the more coal you have, the more energy you generate, the less you generate on top of that, if that makes sense. Someone will do the math on this one. Spreadsheet meta is not my thing. Anyway, besides that, there's also these 2 new technologies, the pulverized coal firing boilers, plus 15% extra coal gain, energy gain from coal. And then another one, the high efficiency turbines, another 15%. Also, you're probably thinking, hang on a minute, these icons used to be something else. Why have they been changed? Well, now the upgrade cost, conversion cost, has been integrated with the basic machine tool. So 20% here, 20, 20, 20, and then finally, they're all baked into here. So instead of the 2 techs here, they've got the 4 ones here, which is good enough, I find, because the truth is, conversion is not like really a strategy. It's just something you do on the side, kind of more later games. So it's kind of a weird one that, I don't know, this is a branch off, you know? So I think it works better when it's integrated with these technologies. So hypothetically, let's just go with it. So let's just say research all, and that's going to go from 143 coal, and it's still 143 coal. I see the number prior to that. And then we build all the buildings. We now have 172 coal now. And if we look at energy generation, we are generating 253 energy. Max generation 1,207. Amazing. I only have one critique, and I said this in my previous videos. I'm still a bit confused why synthetics, synthetic refineries don't require any energy whatsoever, which I think is a really bizarre one. Because my understanding was that this actually did stress the German economy massively in World War II. And it's really strange that we just generate resources for free now. So fair with you, if you've reached the energy cap and you can't get any more coal or energy, you can build synthetics, which are free, or build these 2 structures as well. They're all free. So it's like, it doesn't really add any extra requirement on. So if I impose the game now, the energy demand goes from 253 to 253. It's no different. So yeah, synthetics are still free. So if you are at the cap and you say to yourself, I don't know what to build because it's stressing the economy more with more energy, well, you build these ones and then this one. And there is a last final attempt. You could delete the factories as well. Let's look at the patch notes. Here we go. So added 2 new buildings affecting the scaling of infrastructure. So they pair together with them. If you want more efficiency out of these buildings, you want to max out the infrastructure, which is good because infrastructure is still one of those redundant things that people forget about. Don't forget as well, infrastructure also increases resources per state, per individual province. So if you're ever in a situation where, I don't know, you've maxed out your supply depot, if you can add infrastructure on top of that, that will gain you some more extra local supply. Not a lot though, don't go crazy. It's just a backup plan. Having 0 energy demand now gives 0 production penalty. Resources from infrastructure reduced from 15 down to 20. From 20 down to 15. So this is what I was saying before. The base system now has been nerfed based on how infrastructure gains resources. Note, with the new building, you can still end up with more resources overall. So more overall, but initially nerf. Commercial nuclear reactors now reduce energy per state by minus 50%. This has been increased from minus 25. So now, to be fair with you, there are instances where you can generate no energy per state because everything is self-sustaining if you build a commercial nuclear reactor, and then I suppose the energy grid as well. Electronics concern now reduces the energy consumption by 10%. So if we look at our industrial concerns, we can see this one. So the Stalingrad tractor factory, which is your basic industrial concern, generates 6 coal and gives you more coal efficiency. This is very, very, very important for minor powers. If you do, for some reason, in a power area of the world that has no coal, and you are finding yourself hitting the energy cap, this is the first thing you want to go for. This will give you that minor power boost for coal. Alternatively, if you are reaching the cap of energy, you can go for this one, which is your electronics concern, which reduces energy consumption 10% per factories. I'd love to do a really long grand campaign with this, guys, and actually see the result of these changes, because it feels a lot to me like hitting the energy cap is going to be a little bit more difficult. You just got to click a few buttons and it kind of fixes itself, you know what I mean? Replaces the equipment conversion technologies with the ones I mentioned. Plus 50% energy coal from technology from the excavation techs. The first 4 gain conversion, we're aware of that. Factories gain from exporting resources now impacts the energy per factory less. This was a concern that was raised by the multiplayer community. If you've got, let's say, coal, and another nation buys coal off you, that nation that gains a civilian factory, well, you in this case, who gains a civilian factory, will also need to pay energy costs for that factory too, having a double dip effect. Paradox are aware of it, and in this case, they say that now you generate less energy from that free civilian factory, so therefore it doesn't hurt as badly, but there is an impact, but it's not as big. Be aware, though, that creates an interest where late-game free trade is a really viable strategy, because that means a little less energy consumption based on free civilian factories being generated by exporting. Added a limit for per factory energy consumption. This is what I mentioned earlier about scaling based upon how big you are to begin with, so that it's less of an impact for minor powers. Updated the AI research priorities for excavation and repurposed text to take coal into account. Excavation techs give coal efficiency. Chinese warlords now keep a starting trait when becoming leaders on alternative ideologies for their countries. A starting trait? Is that the warlord trait? This one? No, it said it will be removed still. It must be a Warlord trait that I'm not familiar with. Is it this one? Is it these ones? I'm not sure. Comment below if you've spotted this one. Change focus of invite Soviet advisors now gives a nationals boost to your org and XP. That's good. Reduce destroyers' surface visibility buffs into the patrol boats. So there was a bit of a bug where destroyers couldn't be detected based on surface detection. I'm not sure what happened there, but it looks like that's been fixed. Added some light tanks to the Nationalist China stockpile to reflect the pre-war historical inventory. Oh, interesting. So they start with some tanks. Well, that's kind of cool. Reduce the influence gain from the shared scientist faction. Interesting. I thought this would be the meta of getting nukes, but I'm not sure if that's the case now. Lowering and making the PP gain from warlords subjects visit viable. Is this how you integrate them? I think it might be. I did make a mention to the devs that the integration costs were a little bit too high. Make Nationalist China not wasteful and send to support the Zibai Sai Jai Bye 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 Ma. I believe is the northern one, isn't it? Is that this one? I think it's by design that this nation doesn't join the faction immediately. So it creates a situation where there isn't like this stupid Beijing attack thing that goes on forever and ever. If you know, you know. It's a classic multiplayer thing. Every multiplayer game starts with an attack here between these two states. And it lasts for a good 2 or 3 months before a break happens and actually something happens in this region. It is a bit bizarre that you get stuck there forever and ever because clearly that wouldn't have been an issue historically. Historical game. Okay. Reduce the influence gain, lowered PP, make National China not wasteful, swap the populations of Haibai and Wuhan. Okay, interesting. Interesting that someone probably made a note of that on the forums. Like, the population counts are not quite right for that era. Very observant of you. New rule that only faction leaders can set new goals. That's very important, actually, because that'd be very annoying in multiplayer. Add an ability to blow up and repair the oil field in Burma. Interesting. Japanese puppet governments in China can now unlock the Senbu occupation law. And the warlord tags that declare on a monarchy now can get new names for their non-aligned fascist political parties. Oh, so they have the ability now, like Manchu, to have the Cebu occupation law, which is quite OP, gives extra compliance, which is important if you think about it, because I always been on the fence, really. Like, if you are Japan and you occupy all of China, what's the point of releasing the puppet? Because they're going to get unrest as well. And technically, you want the resources directly. I suppose there are strategies around having a puppet and you pulling resources from that puppet. But from my honest opinion, I feel like creating puppets as Japan doesn't really feel like they're worth it. Added a land raid against the Great Wall of China. Interesting. Wonder if that's for the warlords specifically. There's quite a lot of small changes happening to China and the warlords here. Now, of course, lots of UI changes, very small fix though, AI changes. A lot of people are complaining about the issues with Navy. That was one of the 3 big issues. We fixed the multiplayer micro issue. Coal looks like it's on its way to being fixed. We need to do more testing on this one. And then thirdly, the AI issues for Navy. And does it mention Navy AI issues? It doesn't. Fix an issue with naval AI when Raj will not have their ships received from the following. Okay, so it doesn't look like that's the case. Well, list of things, guys. It does look like there probably is another patch coming. Probably going to address some naval issues. I'm so transparent with you guys. I haven't tested out much Navy so far. So I haven't really got a very good opinion on it. I have heard some kind of horror stories and scenarios that guys run into. And I will be testing those out, and I'll probably make another video on that. And bug fixes! Oh my goodness, so many bugs, so much fix. Much happy. One thing that's mentioned here is map modes, and I'll be honest with you, I feel like if energy is a concern late game, wouldn't it be kind of cool to see the energy demands for your nation? So right now, the color of green basically varies based on the amount of building slots you've got. So in this case, let's find an example. Here there's 2 slots, so you can see this is a fairly lighter green. Something I really pay much attention to. Let's just delete all the factories inside of Leningrad and see what color it is. Oh, okay, so there's only really 2 colors. There's the more than 2 slots available and only 1 slot available and no slots available. So blue, lime green, dark green. Okay. Anyway, the suggestion was that you could see energy consumption from here by either a map mode or directly through this system, because it'd be kind of nice to be able to, when you click on this, to be able to see which areas are generating the most energy, so would benefit more from this. And just a suggestion. It's kind of a bit of a mild one, but just something that popped into my head. Also, one thing that's a little bit micro intense that's kind of a little bit frustrating is that when you've got no building slots here, it'd be kind of cool if there was an easier system to replace a building. Like, for instance, just give an example. If I was to click on this and there's no building slots and I want to replace it with a high capacity electrical grid, it should give a pop-up saying, what do you want to replace? You want to replace... Well, I suppose in that case, it's automatic. You don't want to replace this one, wouldn't you? But just say, you give a pop-up saying which one do you want to replace based on what's in that current region. Because I do think it's a little bit tenuous sometimes when you have to go through all these buildings and delete them to specifically micro them. I think that's the biggest concern with coal, by the way, and I'm hearing you guys for that. Cole has a concern where if you have to micro by building individual buildings or delete buildings, it's just a lot of micro to go into each individual state and then delete them out one by one. It just takes a long time. I understand that, and I know it's frustrating. One thing I will say about you guys is you're doing really well at reporting bugs to Paradox. The only issue we find is that, yeah, I agree, there are bugs that are quite annoying. Paradox, Hoi 4 is a map game, and sometimes these sandbox games have a lot of bugs in them, and it's sometimes very difficult within the time frame of development to actually spot all of them. Hoi 4 is not a railroaded game. You don't have to follow a set direction, so therefore finding bugs is just a lot more difficult. If you guys report bugs to the devs, it makes life a lot easier. My plan here was to look for dev replies, and there are a few, but they're just people mentioning, have you reported a bug? Why are you reporting the bugs? Are you letting us know about the bugs? Will the AI use the new buildings? The AI will build it in states that make sense typically. The AI is not made to be 100% perfect and make suboptimal choices. That kind of reads like the AI will build the new buildings, but the choices will just be random. It's not really a good answer, but I'm filling the gaps here. That might be wrong. They might be making somewhat optimal choices, but not very super optimal ones. Put it that way. It's frustrating that we need patches to fix these issues, but be on the positive side here, guys. Be thankful that Paradox are addressing these issues, and they're addressing them in a relative decent amount of time. So, are you happier than you were before, or are you still angry? Let me know in the comments. Have a good day, boys.